Are we all set?
Good afternoon. Welcome to Encore Palm Beach County special event. Introducing our founder, Rosemary Nixon, who will be facilitating an interview with James Green. You'll be hearing more about him in just a moment. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Rosemary Nixon.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, James, for joining us today. As it said in our newsletter, James is a director of the Palm Beach County Community Services Department. And before I go into grilling you, James, maybe you'd like to share a little bit about what your department does.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Community Services is a county government department. We work with all 39 municipalities throughout Palm Beach County to provide an array of health and human services. And so we focus on providing services to seniors. We have a senior services division. We go into the homes and we provide any type of assistance that they need, but we also operate about 18 different adult daycare centers and services sites or meal sites throughout the county. Seniors can come in and they can socialize and be active and play games, and also have meals, and the adult daycare center sites allows people who are working to leave their parents who may need some additional supervision there at the site while they work, and so they can have a peace of mind. And so those respite services are offered throughout the county as well. In addition to that, we are the backbone entity for the homeless system of care. So we fund a number of agencies for homelessness, Dolores Place, Goodwill, Adopt a Family, just to name a few. But we also provide direct services to address homelessness. And so we operate the shelters. We contract with Goodwill to operate the shelters. We also work with a host of system partners to provide support services necessary for people to end their homelessness and to prevent people from being homeless. We serve as a backbone entity for the Ryan White program. There we provide an array of services for people with HIV and AIDS to make sure that they get the supports they need to become virally suppressed. We serve as almost like the backbone entity for the opioid crisis. So we have the the opioid czar kind of housed in this department. And we work with a number of agencies to provide services in mental health, behavioral health, substance use disorders to address that issue. And then we also work with a number of low-income individuals and families to help move them out of poverty. And so we work closely with CareerSource and other entities to provide training and education and skills and support services so that they can gain employment, earn more, and eventually become greater contributors to our community. So we're a funder. We fund about 125 different programs and nonprofits, and we're also a direct service provider.
Thank you, James. That's quite an array of services being offered in the county. Big job. Let me just say that when we started Encore Palm Beach County 4 years ago, we did a survey of agencies and programs that were focused on tapping into the skills, experience, and knowledge of particularly people moving here to Palm Beach County who are over 50, perhaps retired. And when we looked at what organizations are really focused on tapping into that skill bank, we didn't find too much really. Organizations and departments like yours and the Area Agency on Aging were focused primarily on the services that could be delivered to people who need them. But what we've been talking about is the ability of people, older people, to help deliver services, to help meet the volunteer needs of the community. So that's what we've been focused on for the last 4 years. And that's particularly our focus this month on how we can increase volunteerism in Palm Beach County and learn from others about the most effective way of reaching people, involving them as volunteers, training programs for them, and so forth. So that's kind of what we're focusing on this month with our Zoom programs. Now, I know you have a demanding job based on what you just said and a family, but Karen Roberts, who suggested I contact you, tells us that you have a passion for volunteering and a long-standing commitment to volunteer service yourself. So if you would share with us the source of your commitment, how you began and where that direction is taking you now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rosemary, for the overview. So I'm originally from Alabama. I've been here for a couple of decades now. I come from a large family, so I have 16 siblings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. So my father was married twice. So my mom had 9 kids, and I'm right smack dab in the middle of that bunch. And then I have a set of older brothers and sisters, 8 in fact. And so we are, you know, one of the interesting things about growing up is even though we had so many people, you know, within our household, my father and my mother always welcomed others who were experiencing challenges. And so throughout my childhood, we would see people who, you know, maybe kicked their kids out of the house, or they were going through some other challenges with the child welfare system. They would just allow them to come stay with us, and we would help them. You know, I grew up as Seventh-day Adventist. I'm no longer an Adventist, but in that, you know, there were opportunities to go out and to do mission trips and to really focus on, you know, spreading the gospel. And then as an adult, being engaged in the community allows you to become more as a part of the community. And so shortly after I moved to Florida, I worked at a residential facility and ran that facility. So I was there for about 7 years. And then when I came over on this end, the residential facility was in Clewiston, Florida. When I moved to Palm Beach County, I started working with the Urban League of Palm Beach County. And that is where my footprint in the community in terms of volunteerism and really tapping into all of the various systems began. You know, working with the child welfare system, the juvenile justice system, working and understanding how politics work throughout the county. And you know, what I started doing was galvanizing young professional groups to address some of the social issues that were taking place in our community. And that's kind of where, in terms of my adult and professional experiences, where my volunteerism really took hold is when I began to work at the Urban League. Fast forward, you know, when I came to the county, obviously things opened up quite a bit. We operate the Community Action Program, and Community Action is exactly how it sounds. It's, you know, it's a program that really engages the community on a lot of different fronts, but primarily we're there to make sure that people are involved in issues, social justice issues, and to make sure people are completely invested and engaged in their community, whether that's helping them to start a business, whether that's helping them to obtain employment and to give back and be contributors of their community, or whether that is serving on various boards and committees that are working to address issues. And so I began to do some community organizing, and ever since then, it's just grown and expanded. When I took this role as director, obviously we're over senior services and human services. The department is a pretty big department. There are opportunities for volunteering all around. And so, you know, during my work day, you know, I'm doing my job, but during the weekend, oftentimes you'll see me and my kids are out, helping out with different feeding sites or volunteering with various activities that are going on in the community. So that's kind of an overview of how I became engaged and some of the things that we've been involved in.
I noticed that on your bio that you're actively engaged with young Black youth.
Yes.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. So in 2014, the county mayor appointed me to lead the My Brother's Keepers task force. And basically, that was a challenge that was issued by President Obama. You looked across the country and even here locally, I'll give you local stats, but the implications are the same across the country. If less than 26% of our Black male third graders were reading at grade level. So essentially, if you went to any given school and you lined up 10 Black males, less than 3 of those would be able to read and kind of understand what they're reading. When you move to the 10th grade, it only had moved up to about 40%, but and the graduation rate was pretty low as well in comparison to Latinos and whites. And so this initiative was really about how do you begin to help kids to enter school ready to learn, meaning they're prepared, they know the basics so that they can learn once they get into kindergarten. How do you get them to read at grade level by the time they're in the 3rd grade? How do you make sure that they are graduating high school on time and moving into post-secondary education? How do you get those kids who are disconnected, whether they're in the child welfare system or juvenile justice system? How do you begin to reconnect them to school or to work so that they can become productive members of society? And how do you focus on ensuring that they're maintained throughout adulthood and that they're given second chances? And so we, as a task force leader, we focused on galvanizing all of the groups that were doing this work. There are a lot of mentoring programs and agencies that are out there, but none of them are working together and getting the levels of support that they need. And so the network is about making sure that we knew who all of those individuals or those programs or entities were, making sure that we could introduce them to financial supports, because most of them were just volunteering, whether that's playing, volunteering as a coach in one of the little leagues, or whether that was them starting their own nonprofit just to help kids with mentoring and tutoring to help, the outcomes that I just shared with you, or, whether that was, them going and speaking to kids and just really trying to motivate them to do better for themselves. This network was designed to bring them all together to make sure that they were connected to funding structures that could support the work they're doing, make sure that they understood the needle and the goals, the shared goals that we were all trying to achieve, and to make sure that they had support, meaning getting mentors from businesses, from getting mentors from the county or the city or nonprofits to help them in their mission. And so it was a really successful initiative. We made a lot of progress helping kids to get internships, jobs, helping them to, I think we moved the reading scores up by 6% within a span of 2 years throughout the county. And the graduation also increased by almost 10%. And so there was a lot of focus on just making sure that they have the supports they needed to deal with the trauma that many of them had experienced, and making sure that they knew that they did matter and they do matter, and that people do care about their well-being and success.
Thank you. That's very interesting to hear. So where do you see volunteers in your arena? Your department provides services, but where can people volunteer? How much contact do you have personally with volunteers through the department? And where do people go to sign up?
So there are a number of avenues that people have to volunteer with the department. The structure that we have that probably recruits the most volunteers is through our senior services division. So there are volunteer opportunities for seniors who have skills. Maybe they know how to knit, or maybe they are yoga instructors or Zumba instructors, or maybe they just like to facilitate games and discussions, or there are a host of different activities that seniors volunteer for at our various senior centers and mill sites. And so if they're interested in volunteering, then they would just call 561-355-4703 and indicate their desire to volunteer, and they'll be provided a form, and that form will allow them to ask key questions, capitalize on their strengths, and make sure that they're pointed in the right direction in terms of volunteering.
James, as I'm sure you know, there are multitude of areas in which volunteers are needed in the county. Senior services just being one,
Right.
young people being another. But the people that are possibly retiring here may have a variety of interests. So what we've been trying to do is to gather on our website all the resources that links. I don't know whether you had a chance to look at all the links to all the volunteer job boards that we could find, as well as listing those volunteer opportunities that people shared with us. And so when we meet people, we try to help them connect. And because Palm Beach County is a very big place, it can be very confusing for people who are new to the area. It can take a lot of time to figure it out, and some people never really are able to figure it out. So one of the things that we have on our website is the job board for Palm Beach County itself. But like every other volunteer organization, people don't know it exists, I think. So even if we point it out, people will say, gee, I didn't know that there was a place to contact the county to volunteer for all those different areas that volunteers are needed in. Does the county have an effective way of communicating and reaching out, well, to the thousands of households in Palm Beach County, and 50% of our residents are over 50? I don't see that there's good communication going out to people. And I just wonder, is there a way of, you know, the county could do, frankly, a better job of communicating the need for volunteers in our county?
Absolutely. I would agree in that we can certainly enhance our process for recruiting volunteers. I think during this pandemic, especially with seniors, that's just hasn't been a focus because of the nature of what we're dealing with. We want seniors to actually remain home, and perhaps there are things that they can do while they're at home. So I know that, that active recruitment has not occurred as of late. I think perhaps last year, the year before last, we were a lot more active in recruiting volunteers on a number of different fronts. So I'll just share a few. When we experienced hurricanes, or when Hurricane Maria happened, and a lot of individuals were displaced, or Hurricane Dorian happened and many of the Bahamians were displaced, our department was responsible for coordinating housing and supports for those individuals. So the structure that is currently in place is our department, through the emergency management division, works with United Way, and there is actually an individual. There's a group of individuals that recruits volunteers to assist where needed to meet the unmet needs. And so in the past couple of years, we've been pretty successful. We would send out a press release. There would be engagements on the news and in other areas. And we worked with United Way to recruit volunteers that could help sort items that were donated, that could help provide support services for people who are displaced, that could help even with some of the recovery efforts that were taking place around the county. And so, in that regard, in terms of emergency management, there is a structure in place and a partner that we work with and a person that's responsible for the recruitment efforts. And they work with mostly churches to do that. As it relates to the pandemic, there has absolutely been a few efforts, but not necessarily aimed towards seniors. These efforts were coordinated through churches. So churches would either put together like wash packets and things of that nature so that we could give them to the homeless and make sure that they had showers and hygiene products and things of that nature. Our churches also worked with municipalities and people who were in need to provide care packages to them. And so we worked a lot with churches and actually formulated a committee called Faith in Action to assist regionally with support services for the more than 4,000 kids who are experiencing homelessness in Palm Beach County, as according to the school district data. And so in that regard, they're plugged in regionally and they're providing food and other types of supports for those families. But specifically as it relates to seniors, and obviously there are some seniors who are involved, they're mostly coordinating like feedings and things of that nature. And finally, there are just opportunities for seniors to, and we have had this level of engagement to come in and to provide services like we work with AARP and others for them to be in the office and doing clerical duties. And there are a number of opportunities where seniors who are retired school teachers or educators can provide tutoring services, especially now that the digital divide has created such, it's wreaked havoc, to be honest with you, on the very poor, in that their educational attainment or their academic progress they're really struggling. Having teachers who are retired to go in and to work with the Literacy Coalition and to work with other entities involved with the Birth to 22 Alliance to provide supports, tutoring supports and things of that nature in our low-income neighborhoods has actually been a huge need and definitely an area where they can kind of tap into.
James, I appreciate the fact that for some time we've all been absorbed with the pandemic as another emergency on top of hurricanes and economic distress and so forth. And people are focused on, what needs to be done right now. But we're going to be exiting this pandemic, hopefully within the next 12 months. And so I'm thinking more about what could be done to let people out there, not just seniors. In fact, we don't use the word seniors, James, it's people over 50, but everybody really, about the extent to which volunteers are needed in our community, and whether it's virtual volunteer opportunities that people can do online, such as we are, or tasks that can be brought to them where they live in a residential facility, or whether it is release programs for employees to contribute to their communities. Is there a way, a structure that every household in Palm Beach County can be prevailed upon, or the message reach them that volunteers are needed in so many ways, and maybe directing them to some central website? In other words, the county, at least some county department, whether it's yours or another, mail stuff to every household
Mhm.
at some time or another, whether it's the appraiser's office, the Department of Motor Vehicles, whatever. Could there not be something that, is highlighted and says, we need you, I guess, like old Uncle Sam in World War II.
Mhm.
We need you. And if you're interested in helping out, then this, click here or call this or
Yeah,
whatever.
sure.
And there are people, hopefully, who can help you figure out what you want, what's the right volunteer opportunity for you. And this is another one of our focus. Joni Cherbo and Christine Cottagio are board members on this call. And they have a workshop scheduled for the 24th of this month that focuses on exactly that. How do you help people figure out where they fit, where they are best suited to serve and what interests them? And of course, there's no one central place for that, but there is a need for it.
Yeah.
And so do you see that there's a way the county can be more aggressive, I guess is the word I'm looking for, in reaching out to everybody, whether they're 50 or older or younger?
Yeah, so the short answer to your question is yes, I think we can, certainly look at ways to leverage volunteer opportunities and to create channels for people to volunteer. We sent out the mask. We sent out masks to every household in Palm Beach County, and being able to insert some type of mailer in that when during that distribution that could provide direction in terms of volunteer activities, would be useful. And if we do something like that again, it's certainly something that we would consider. And just being able to, I do think that when you provide those opportunities, you do need to have a structure to kind of receive all those calls and to be able to triage them appropriately. I don't know if you can give me sharing rights, but I want to show something to you that I think speaks to what you're asking. Are you able to provide me with sharing rights or to go to a site?
Christine, is it possible for us to share something that James has?
Well, yeah, if you're able, if you allow me to share,
Okay.
then I want to show you, and I think this speaks to what you're saying in terms of having a more systematic approach to volunteer recruitment, but it's just kind of honed in the homelessness arena as opposed to, the entire spectrum of opportunities available for volunteering. So you're on mute, Christine.
Christine? Christine?
You're on mute, Christine. You're on mute, Christine.
What I did, sorry. I'm trying to find that for you so that we can get you up there.
Can you log on to this site and just share it yourself?
That I'm not sure. I can share a screen, but I need a screen to share. So let's see how we can do that.
So the way that you give me presenter rights, if you go to participants at the bottom, there are two little people. You go to participants, you can click on that. And when you click on it, you'll see a number of names come up.
Mhm.
Click and you can give presenter rights to me by right clicking on my name.
Okay. All righty. So I'm selecting one participant at a time. All
So you go-
participants. Let's see. Okay. Let's start sharing. Okay, let's see.
There you go. So I have it. I have it now.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
It says thehomelessplan.org.
Yeah.
So this is a centralized site. And I'm going to show you a couple of things on the site. The first one thing that I want to show you, and this is how we've engaged. We started a group, I mentioned Faith in Action, so that we can have a regional approach to addressing homelessness with our churches. And so if they click on Get Engaged here, I'm going to click on this button. What will happen is it says current volunteer opportunities include things like the point in time count, mentoring, all of these things. And then here's what they can do. They can put their name, their address, all of that information in, and then they can look at all of these opportunities, whether they want to help by maybe renting a room to a homeless family or provide employment or employment skills. You'll see any type of healthcare services, transportation, legal, case management, food. They can assist with just counting the homeless on the street. All of these are volunteer opportunities, but they can also write in things that they think they can do to help and leave comments. And once they hit submit, then this would go to our staff, dedicated staff, and then they would triage them to the opportunities that are available and make sure that they count their hours and make sure that they do anything else that is necessary. So for homelessness, we have, I typically just have people to go to thehomelessplan.org to this site and to hit the Get Engaged button, and they can volunteer that way. But I think what you're asking is, how can we have a central point of focus like volunteer.org or something in Palm Beach County where they can go and they can figure out all of the volunteer opportunities throughout the entire county and have a person that could support that structure so that they can triage them and follow up with them and account for all of their volunteer hours. Or maybe even they just have a link that goes to your site, which has all the volunteer opportunities.
So if you didn't know that this website existed, how would you find it?
Well, I think like I said, what we've done is we identified all of the churches. We used the churches and the businesses.
Okay.
We identified all of the churches in Palm Beach County. There are 1,200 and I think 46 faith-based, registered faith-based entities. And what we did was we hosted this Faith in Action forum regionally. So we went out, we sent flyers to all of the churches via email and through mail, and we invited them to hear about how the homeless services system worked, what we're doing well, where we're having challenges. And then we told them, we provided information for them to get engaged and introduce this link. So we only focused on engaging the faith-based community regarding this, but I think just doing something for the broader community might present an opportunity as well.
Yeah, maybe I'm simple-minded, but it seems to me that there should be a vehicle that connects with every household that the county has the ability to reach, that says, if you're interested in being a volunteer, go here. And it takes you to the county volunteer site, the one we have on our website. If I click on that and I go there, it shows me a small range of volunteer opportunities. You know, there is a form to fill out and so forth, but I don't think it's very extensive. And I recognize that this isn't a priority for everybody, given all the problems that people have been dealing with, but we're thinking forward into the future to
Mhm.
maximize volunteer participation in Palm Beach County. So, you know, what can be done? It may take time to, because the wheels of government turn slowly, I guess, to keep it simple. Keep it simple. Um, and but maximize the opportunities to volunteer. And then are there people who can help people figure out what is right for them, or is that beyond the capacity of the county to do?
Well, I think you need a person to support what you're describing. So I think you do need a person, and perhaps that person could be a volunteer themselves, right? But you need a person that is able to take all of these requests. Like there might be, we have a youth speakers bureau where people can go out and speak about various aspects of the county. Or maybe like Channel 20. Channel 20 is our local news channel. Maybe there is an opportunity for that to be consistently shared via Channel 20 or in various avenues. I think the bottom line is there absolutely could be an enhanced effort to leverage the volunteer capacity or the number of people that are out there willing to help. There is absolutely a way that we can enhance those efforts, streamline it, and really capitalize on people who want to give back throughout Palm Beach County. And it's certainly something that I'm willing to work on.
Thank you. You anticipated my next question, which is always, who could make this happen? You know, I'm talking with somebody at 3 o'clock today who has an idea of something that Encore should do. And, you know, I said to him, tell me how you would design it, you know, and who would be the person who would be best equipped to design what we're talking about. Um, and also including, as we said, who are the people who can help people find the right opportunity. It's one thing to list things, it's another to say, listen, I'm willing to give you a little guidance here. So, as I said, we have a workshop coming up on the 24th that Christine and Joni are running, and that is focused on how do you figure out what's right for you. And maybe you could share that information about that upcoming workshop. It was in our newsletter. We can send you additional information, James, but maybe there's somebody that needs to, you know, learn a little bit more about that as part of creating a structure. I guess when I ask the question, because I am a simple person, anybody who knows me would start to laugh about that. Um, but, you know, I kind of visualized there's something that gets mailed to somebody's house, and there's a little blurb on it that says, if you're interested in getting involved and solving the problems of our county, go here. That may be too simple, but that's kind of something I had in mind. And it sounds as if we were to encourage the structure that you're talking about, that we should follow up with you. Is that correct?
Uh,
As a place to begin?
I'm willing. I'm certainly willing to help out where I can. And I would tend to want to go back to you. I mean, you already have infrastructure to address this. We would love to be able to partner with you and your organization
Okay.
to, to make something like this happen. I see Joni had a hand up and wanted to make some comments, but, I think that, just being able to partner with you and your group, Rosemary, would be a fabulous way for us to work, collaborate together to make this happen.
Unmute yourself, Joni. Joni, you're muted. Unmute yourself.
Hi, and exactly to this, what we were speaking about, Rosemary, I think I brought it to your attention. And James, I'm not sure you know about a group called Volunteer Match here in Palm Beach County, which I'm showing you, I have a list of, I would say 20 volunteer organizations of many stripes that have listed their needs for volunteers. I don't know where they come from or who's funding them, of course, which is important as well. But here they are. I can give you their website, and I think they're well ahead of us in trying to do some centralized work in this regard, and we should definitely look into them. They're www.volunteermatch.org/search !1 Palm Beach County, Florida, USA.
Let me see if I can
bring them up. Yeah.
If you go to our website, on the volunteer page, it is one of the links on our volunteer page.
You did put it on. Okay. I don't know anything about them except that I found them.
Well, it's a national organization. Usually, I think, I don't want to say anything that's incorrect, but I think the nonprofits have to pay to post volunteer opportunities. But it's there, and sometimes people find something in their area. That's why we have all these different job boards on our volunteer page, but the one for the county could be more robust. I mean, we don't create the data on it. So there could be more, and I think that comes under the heading of the structure that needs some thinking about.
If there is a structure, maybe we can augment it and enhance it for this county.
I think that's what James is suggesting.
But there is one in this organization. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think what you guys are describing is it currently exists. Looking at what you just shared, Joni, and everything from advocacy to
Right.
youth and technology and literacy and health, years and more is here. So it's certainly something valuable that that I wasn't aware of, that I think is very useful as we move forward and we want to leverage volunteer opportunities. So thank you.
Yeah, the issue is that people don't know this website exists. People don't know the county's website exists. People don't know the United Way Volunteer Job Board exists. Do you see where I'm going with this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the ultimate. There's two pieces to this. One is people don't know these sites exist, for one thing. And then if they do want to volunteer, they really don't get very much guidance as to what's the right volunteer opportunity for them. That's two sides of the coin, I think.
Yeah, well, I think there are plenty of opportunities here, especially at the advisory board capacity. We have board slots that need to be filled, subcommittee that could help. So I think what I'll begin by doing is making sure that my leadership team is aware of this and that we're leveraging it, but also I can share it with my network of funders and others. And I will have this conversation with the county administrator about, whether she'd be willing to do a mailer to everyone with something like this so that they know that they can go here and sign up if they'd like to volunteer.
Well, now I think we're cooking with gas. Christine, you say there are other questions waiting.
Yes, I know. I believe Karen Roberts has some questions. Karen, did you want to open the questioning?
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I'm not on screen today, but hello everyone, and James, thank you so
Hey,
much.
Karen, how are
Thanks
you?
so much for being on the call. I'm doing good. I have
Good.
a question, James. Appreciate all the information you've shared already, but you mentioned specifically about a program in your organization helping people get out of poverty, and you work with Career Source Palm Beach County. The question I wanted to ask you is, I know you're very aware because you and I, of course, have knowledge about our aging network here in Palm Beach County, but there's a lot of need for caregivers. And I wondered if one of the programs you work with, do you work with any programs that help perhaps train or get folks ready to be caregivers?
I think the short answer to your question is yes. To what extent, I'm going to have to defer if I can to Faith, who's on the call, Faith, because she operates those initiatives and she can share details about how we support and train caregivers.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Good afternoon.
Hi, Faith.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, Faith. Great. And again, I'm asking about folks that are caregivers or maybe wanting to be reskilled to learn how to be a caregiver for a paid employment, versus a family caregiver.
Oh, okay.
Right. So we have 2 volunteer programs at the Division of Senior and Veteran Services. And Karen, I don't know if you're familiar with them from the Area Agency on Aging, but one of them is the Senior Companion Program, and one of them is the Relief Program. And these are volunteer stipend paid programs for volunteers out in the community who are trained to go into a senior's home and provide relief and or companionship to the caregivers. So they assist the caregivers in their role as a caregiver. And also, so that's one of the programs we have, and then there's a small stipend for that. And then we also provide an educational program called Powerful Tools for Caregivers, as well as the Area Agency on Aging, in which you train caregivers and give them the tools they need. But our 2 volunteer programs are open to anyone that wants to volunteer and provide a service with a small stipend. It's really a win-win program out in the community, because not only is it helping the senior, but it's helping the senior sometimes. They can be any age for some of those programs that go into the home and assist the caregiver in the caregiving tasks that they need to do.
Okay, thank you, Faith. Appreciate it. And thank you, James.
Thank you. Good to hear from you again, Karen.
Other questions? If people have a question, they need to unmute themselves.
I'd like to mention something that I haven't heard mentioned. Great information, James. I really appreciate it. Thank you. But as a longstanding member of a number of different service organizations who are always looking for projects, have you contacted or reached out to any of the local, usually very, I want to say prosperous organizations? Have you reached out to any of those? Because especially now, since most of them aren't meeting in person, they're looking for some other type of projects that they can get involved in. So is that something that you've been able to reach out to?
No, I haven't. Like I said, we're still dealing with the effects of the pandemic. And so our volunteer efforts are coordinated through the United Way organization. We created that structure to be able to recruit volunteers and supports during emergencies and disasters. Beyond that, most of our efforts have been around pushing out CARES dollars. And so we did reach out, and we were able to access some volunteers to help with some of the processing of with some of the with pushing the dollars for rent and utility and food assistance out. So we were able and successful at utilizing some volunteers in some of the roles there. But beyond that, we have not, because we haven't had the capacity to do much more than to meet the needs of residents who are struggling with the effects of COVID. If I go back to what Rosemary was saying, in terms of looking forward a year or so from now, absolutely, I think there will be a number of opportunities to engage in some of with some of the agencies that you're mentioning, and through the channels that we're mentioning on this call, to assist with some of the supports around homelessness, around youth and tutoring and mentoring, and even to expand the opportunities with our seniors who, we want to make sure that they remain active and social, and that they get the support services that they need.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, James, one of the things that we are working on, a member of our organization, Athena Jackson, is on the call, and she's working with me to develop a program whereby nonprofits that have a task that can be done on site bring a project to people living in independent and assisted living facilities. I mean, there's a huge population in Palm Beach County that live in facilities like that. They've been isolated for a long time. Even going forward, they will probably continue to be isolated, either because of age, infirmity, or concern about the virus. And do you have any knowledge of how that a program like that could work with county departments or volunteer nonprofit organizations that you know? Have I made myself clear? It's the kind of thing where you bring a task to a group of people. We've already started to establish relationships with some of these residences like Abbey Delray and Delray Beach, and God knows there are plenty of them, that maybe it's an old-fashioned notion, but whether it's stuffing envelopes or preparing kits or whatever, people like to work on a project together, and it keeps them engaged in the community, even if they're not out there in it. And it helps to, break down the isolation. Even if people live in a residence, they can still be isolated. So that's something that we're working on. And do you have any ideas of how we could develop that? Where we could get support for it?
In terms of development, are you speaking more about further developing your concepts, or are you speaking about resources and supports, even financial supports to help with the operations or implementation of it?
All of the above.
So I'll need to do some research to determine what resources are out there to help to develop that. We typically do from time to time have organizations, companies like Florida Crystals or whomever, who want an opportunity to give back. And we have a nonprofit called Friends of Community Services, Youth Services, Palm Beach County, that they are able to provide resources for. And And we utilize those resources to help fill the gaps that exist specifically for seniors and low-income residents. So I think that probably the best guidance that I can give you with regards to that question is, if you have a white paper or some type of document that summarizes what it is that you're looking to do, and where your areas of maybe the top 3 areas of greatest needs are, then I could likely connect you to some entities that would hopefully want to support you in that regard.
Okay, thank you, James. We do have a document that we could send to you that outlines what our thinking was. Actually quite simple. Establishing relationships with, to begin with, facilities in South Palm Beach County as they move out of the into, a more open setting where people can come into a facility. And then we have a mailing list of nonprofits that we were just simply going to ask them if they have possible projects, and to set up an organizing structure of some kind that could certainly use support from the county if there such is available. As some of the people know, I started a program like this back in 1970 with the Retired Senior Volunteer Program of Greater Hartford. And we had nonprofits bringing projects to nursing homes back then. So even people who are quite elderly can be still involved in some way if they choose to be.
I would agree, absolutely.
So so we could perhaps send that to you and go from there.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of James?
Yes, James, does your organization have a newsletter?
Yes, so we have a newsletter for the department. We also have a newsletter for the Senior Services Division. Sends out a newsletter pretty regularly just to keep seniors aware of activities that are taking place, to make sure that they have certain information, information on how to prevent fraud, how to, the latest on certain things that are happening in the community, events that are happening around the community. So we do have newsletters, and they're on our website. Some of them, not the Senior Services one, but we do have some links to them as well.
Okay, and so I can put it in the chat for everyone. What is your website?
I'll drop it in the chat. Give me 1 second here. And I'll just go to the site and drop it in the chat for everyone. pbcgov.com/community services.
Okay.
If there are no other questions from other people, I did have 2 more questions, James, if you have a minute more. And one was, this was asked by someone, what role does volunteerism play in the social justice movement? And if someone were interested, what's a good way to get involved?
Social justice just absolutely wouldn't take place without volunteers and people who really cared about the community and the direction that we're headed in as a community. So I think it plays a tremendous role. And I mean, when you think about many of the injustices that we've seen just over the past 1.5 to 2 years, we've seen volunteers mobilize in a way that has shifted legislation, shifted the narrative, and that has made a tremendous difference on a number of fronts. So what I think we lack is the level of infrastructure needed to sustain any meaningful change. Oftentimes we mobilize when there's we have the sense of urgency right after something happens, whether it's a shooting that happens, a mass shooting, or whether it's some racial injustice that occurs, or whether it's something that happens, to women, and we saw the women's movement. I think what is needed more so than anything else is a group or structure that develops the level of infrastructure, not just at a national level, but at a state and local level, that allows people to come together, to organize, to develop strategies for the local community, and to be able to implement those and evaluate those strategies in an ongoing and consistent way. I know one of the largest challenges to making something like that happen has to do with the resources, right? Yes, we're talking about volunteering, and certainly you can mobilize seniors who are retired. Oftentimes, these are younger people who are engaged in these types of efforts. But if you want to sustain it, people have to eat, people have to live, and they may be passionate about the topic at hand, but they still have to eat. And so they can't do it 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. And oftentimes, because, people's everyday lives have to continue to occur, they just don't have the fortitude or the type of stamina to stay with those issues. And so you'll see that you'll have this surge of community activism and volunteerism happening after an event, then it'll die down, and then another event will happen, and boom, you have another surge of people out, on the streets marching, or, pushing and calling legislators and senators, and then things will die down, and it's just this vicious cycle, because there's no real infrastructure to sustain any movement that has occurred. I mean, we've seen them. We've seen Occupy, Wall Streets, and we've seen the women's movements, and we've seen the racial justice movements. We've seen these cycles happen over and over again. But until we can develop the infrastructure and support those infrastructures, I think the role of volunteerism won't be as effective as it could be.
Okay, and then another question was, have you seen any specific intergenerational volunteer effort that stood out for you, young and old, here in Palm Beach County, working together in some way?
Sure, I've seen quite a bit of activism happening around in the homeless world, especially during the time that we were working with the encampment at John Prince Park and transitioning those individuals. I saw young people, I saw older people coming together to support our homeless neighbors and to advocate for our homeless neighbors, to advocate for shelters, for resources, for fairness. So I've seen that on a number of occasions. I've seen similar things happen here locally in Palm Beach County around, elections. And that's something that we typically don't get very involved with, but it is a big thing here locally. Just having people to register, people to vote, getting people to sign petitions and to get, things like Amendment 4 on the ballot, having people pushing for issues for a higher living wage or things of that nature. I've seen young people and older people working collaboratively together on a number of those types of issues.
Okay. You've been very generous with your time, James. I know you have work to do. You've opened up a lot of things to think about and ways we can follow up with each other, if we may. I'd like to continue working with you in some way. Are there any other questions that haven't been asked, Christine? Joni, you need to unmute yourself. Unmute. There. Unmute yourself.
All right, I just thought I was unmuted and I guess you muted me, right? Always a good idea with me. James, something you alluded to, and I think Christine and Rosemary, is there's a difference between working with younger volunteers and older people as volunteers. What's appropriate for one is not necessarily appropriate for the other. Elders can have more resources and time. Younger people have to eat, as you said, you know? So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because a lot of us are trying to figure out how do we inspire seniors or what is appropriate for seniors that may not be for younger people and vice versa.
I think things that would be more appropriate for seniors would be, social capital is something that's really big with us, and you'll start to hear more about that moving forward. But something like just making phone calls for seniors, or we started to think about pen pals and how we can integrate that into our level of programming. Just being able to mentor families and to be there as a support for families who are living in poverty or moving out of poverty. People who are struggling with some of the issues caused by economic stress and even with mental health issues, they don't always come to their case manager or case. They go to people they know, and if they don't have people that they can call and just talk to and to help sort through those issues, then it can be really challenging for them. So social capital is certainly a big opportunity. And I mentioned just making wellness calls and phone calls to ensure that they're okay. But there are also opportunities for seniors to get together and to address some of the social ills. I don't think that's just for young people. I think that we really have to work with our seniors to, I think about something like Medicare, right? Which is something that is really important for our seniors, and figuring out a way to galvanize them to make sure that, those protections are there, or to make sure that any other type of legislation that would adversely affect them would be are taken off the table, are certainly opportunities for them. I think seniors who are engaged in those type of efforts are often more effective than sometimes young people, because young people are inconsistent when it comes to, say going to the polls or offering, their support to certain candidates. Seniors are more consistent, and they will call and they will keep calling and they will voice their opinions about certain things. And so that level of advocacy for policies that will support our seniors is really, really important. And so, yes, I do think that there are a number of avenues where seniors can be engaged and be very effective.
We've gone over the hour a bit, James. I don't want to keep you further, but this has been a very productive conversation. Lots for us to chew on, and we will be getting back to you if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Everybody knows that once I get someone in my net, they can't get free. Oh dear. Well, thank you again. If there's no other questions, I think we're ready to sign off. Christine?
No other questions. James, thank you very much. It's been very informative. We look forward to hearing more from you and working with you in the future. Thank you all for joining us. Be sure to visit our website at encorepbc.org for the list of our upcoming events. February is entirely for volunteerism. So lots of good information coming up there, and look forward to seeing more of you on the call. Thank you for joining us today. All participants will receive a copy of the recording. So thank you so much and have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.